content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
What's up, brother?
When you walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We made it! We made it! We made it! We made it! I'm going to the house! I'm going to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We made it. I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up with chin straps. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect
All right. Let's go.
From them. He's a man. They can be a hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's who I did. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. You had no work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We made it. I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
No, this game is just getting started. Right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Appreciate those who are streaming us live on KYOKradio.org and those that are checking us out on various social media platforms. We appreciate you. It is the day after the weekend, baby. And David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com. Just checked out a great podcast from Friday with a guy who is vastly becoming one of my favorite people in the world. You were talking to, is it the PLC? Which one? What's it called now?
PCL. Professional Collegiate League.
Yep, man. I need them to come on with it. And be as successful as possible. Because, bro, they got a plan. That's all I want is a man with a plan.
Absolutely. You continue to see that the model for collegiate athletics is broken and well, not broken. It's doing what they wanted to do, but it's wrong. It's exploitative. And what the PCL is trying to do is the most equitable thing I've ever seen with regard to student athletes. They're training people their goal is to train young men to be professional basketball players, but also when people talk about the educational component, they're not trying to sneak it by anybody. They're not trying to make it fake. They're trying to give kids the options of doing remedial work so that they can get caught up and not be placed in situations where they are not academically competitive. They want to give you the options of 2-year, 4-year, and trade schools. And the season will take place outside of the school year. The season will take place in the summer so that these kids can go to school when it's school time. There's no distraction for them in that regard. And then the biggest part to me is, well, first they get paid.
Yep.
So anywhere between, I think it's $75,000 to $150,000 they'll be paid. They'll also be trained in how to deal with media, how to choose an agent, how to take care of finances, all of those things. And they don't have to determine which school you go to. So if you want to go to an HBCU and take your courses, and this guy wants to go over to a state school, and this person wants to go to a 2-year school, all y'all can be on the same team.
Right.
So that changes everything. And then coaches are not under the responsibility of recruiting talent. They are not under the responsibility of knowing that if they lose, they can be fired by alumni or have some angry folks. They are there to develop these players, and they will be judged on their ability to develop players. And so you are training them for the career that they want, and you are giving them educational options that are real. And there will not be that pressure of saying, well, my job is on the line. You got to be over here at 6 a.m. and do these things. There's no choice between studying and athletics. When it's time to study, you study. When it's time to be a pro, you are taught to be a pro. And you're not playing junk defenses and all that stuff to the satisfaction of a college coach.
Yeah, it's not that fake moniker of student athlete. And I like the way he said the veil over that has been pulled back. Man, that thing has been pulled, torn down from the top, balled up and thrown into a fireplace somewhere. There's no such thing as a student athlete. And I'm telling you now, anybody come to me with that nonsense, I'm going to tell them, be quiet. I'm going to tell them, be quiet, just be quiet, because that is a lie. It is not true. It is a fake myth. Because like you said, these kids are being sequestered in places where their schools don't exist. Their families are not there. Why? So that they can play a sport to the benefit of the coach, so he can get his millions, or her, the alumni, so they can get their prestige, and the university. Oh, but AJ, they get the spotlight. They get the scholarships. Nonsense. Stop it. It is a myth. It is a lie. It's fake news. It's everything y'all want us to believe about everything else.
Yeah, Ricky and I talked about that, and we talked about that part of, look, you can get a 4.0 and be a great student, but if coach thinks you ain't producing and on the field, he can cut you loose. That scholarship is not yours.
Right.
That belongs to the university at their discretion.
Right.
So an academic scholarship, as long as I maintain my GPA, nobody can do anything. But your position in football is not even based on how good you are. Because you can be very good, but I can have a greater position of need. I don't need you anymore, so I'm letting you go. And you got to scramble and find some other institution to go to. That's ridiculous.
Yep. And then on top of that, again, this whole nonsense that they care about the student athletes. Where's Scott Frost now? Where is, and I love that you brought up the situation with Nick Saban. Where's Saban now?
Where's LSU?
Dabo Swinney, where's your boy Ed Orgeron? All those promises that they made in the beginning of the year was for one thing, to get the season going. That's all it was.
Mike Leach, you heard him. Yeah, his team, he loses out. His team can't even practice because of the COVID, and he's saying, well, we're losing our freedoms, and he wants to talk about that. Ed Orgeron, he's got caught in a straight up lie, or LSU has a serious problem, because he said before the season, you go look this up, it's in print. It's already spread through our team. Everybody's had it. He said that.
That's what he said.
And now his team still doesn't have enough players to practice because of COVID. So I don't want to hear it. Like, clearly these schools are not telling the truth. They are not representing these students' best interests. And then when you talk about the fact that we are seeing an uptick in mental health issues related to post-COVID diagnoses, along with the brain trauma that players suffer playing football, you are really putting people at jeopardy for this. Because if you get young men who are suffering that trauma, and then on top of that, and we're not talking about just losing short-term memory, they're talking about severe, like I'm trying to use the correct terminology that they use, but they were saying dementia. They were saying that they're seeing COVID-related dementia, and that's damage. That's not just memory. That's damage to the brain.
And you're talking to a guy that owned a franchise of an insurance company that had to, by law, deal with pre-existing conditions. If you had certain pre-existing conditions, I couldn't write you a policy for supplemental cancer, couldn't write you a policy for supplemental stroke, couldn't write you a policy for supplemental heart, and so on. And the reality is, we don't know what the conditions were going to be just yet, because we hadn't even been a full year.
And we're just going through a second. I mean, this spike, we're already at numbers. We went up 1 million cases in the last 6 days. We went from 2 million to 11 million in 6 days, and it's just about to get worse. We're already at a worse rate than we were when we shut down the last time.
Right. And all people are talking about, we can't shut down again. People that are about to be on ventilators are literally saying this is not real. It's fake. I mean, they're about to incubate them, and they're saying it's still not real. It's fake. And like one COVID-19 nurse said, a lot of them don't get to respond whether or not they believe it after coming off of incubation, because she said, sadly, a lot of them don't come off. And again, I hear people quoting that number. Oh, it's 99.43% survival rate.
It's not about the death. It's about the after effects. That's the thing, is people's lungs are scarred. Their brains are hurt. We don't even know all of the long-term effects because, like you said, we are not far enough away to have that perspective. So we can't possibly say, if the only thing we're judging anything by is whether you die or not, if that's what then we don't care about water, we don't care about air, because they may not kill you in a minute, but they kill you over the long haul. So if that's what you're saying, is that your diminished health is not my concern. I'm only worried if you die. And I'm not really worried if you die because it's not enough of you dying for me to care about. Man, what are we saying about ourselves?
And that's why I say it's one thing to be a professional, to go out there based on your salary, to decide if you're going to go to work. That's one thing. But don't ever say again that college kids are student athletes. Don't ever say again that high school kids are student athletes, because they're not.
It's their job to play in order to keep their program alive. If you cannot keep their program alive unless they play, then they're employees.
Right. Exactly.
If you can't operate a factory without factory workers, right?
That's it.
You can't have a restaurant without somebody to cook. So if you can't have an athletic department without these kids, then they're employees, and you better start compensating them.
Here's the thing, and then I got to take a break, David. I love the way that I think it was you or David that said, what's his name?
Ricky Vellante.
I'm sorry. That Ricky said, and it's not about changing the existing system, because they'll just find a way to get around the new changes. They'll find a way to get around the new rules. You got to come up with something different. And that's why I love what Ricky Vellante is doing. That's why I love what, he's not doing anymore, but LeVar Ball ultimately had out there. And, listen, let's do something different. Don't try to change the existing NCAA. We've got 100+ years of proof they don't want to change. Don't try to change the NFL. We got 100+ years of proof they don't want to change. NBA, MLB, man, come up with something different. Come up with an alternative. And the world is big enough for alternatives. So I'm rooting for them. I got to take a quick break. It's Media Monday. We got plenty to talk about. A lot going on in the world of football, a lot going on in the NBA. As of about an hour ago, trades could become official in the NBA. We'll talk about all that next right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's AJ Jones with the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. AM 40 at 92.3 FM. It's that time of year where we are reminded of all the things we should be thankful for, and that it's more blessed to give than to receive. So with that in mind, on Wednesdays from now through Christmas, we'll give you a chance to win a gift certificate from Butterball. That's right, you can win a gift certificate for a Butterball turkey on Wednesdays on the lunch break between 12 and 2. Just be the right caller, and your Butterball turkey will be on us at the legendary KYOK AM 1140 at 92.3.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
You're having your lunch on the lunch break with KYOK.
All right, y'all. We are back here on the lunch break. The segment brought to you by Butterball Turkey. I'll be calling them in a second. They'll give us an update on how to properly get prepared. I think this week is the week of Thaw Your Turkey Day, National Thaw Your Turkey Day. We'll confirm it with Butterball, but we'll talk to them in a little bit. David, so the first trade has gone down. Lakers trading Danny Green and a first-round pick to the Thunder for Dennis Schroeder. Good move or what?
Yeah, it's a good move for the Lakers. Obviously for the Thunder, it's kind of they're shedding some salary because it looks like they're gonna do the total rebuild at this point because Danny Green is not an asset that you love to have. He's a very one-dimensional piece at this stage in his career. Schroeder is somebody who can make shots. You saw how effective he was in that 3-guard lineup in Oklahoma City. Not a plus defender, but not a bad one. He can create and get to the basket, which means that's something that Anthony Davis needs going forward because they can't play 25 minutes of Rondo during a regular season if he comes back. And they don't have another point guard on that roster who can create his own shot and create for other people. At the very least, Schroeder can play as a starter or as a reserve because he's very effective in that role last year. That's a great move for the Lakers. They have to move around the edges. They just don't have a ton of money to go out and sign big names. So you hope that you can find partners that are dumping people, and that's what the Thunder are doing.
Yeah, and funny that you said that. I was wondering about whether Schroeder becomes a starter or whether he comes off the bench. But either way it goes, they've got a very serviceable, above-average player.
Yeah, he can shoot. He can drive. He will get to the free throw line. He's also an energy guy. He's very, very cocky. Certainly believes in himself. So that may be why he's better suited for them as a guy on that second unit to keep the offense going. Because we saw when the Lakers went to the bench, they had so many struggles in trying to score baskets.
Right.
So maybe as a sixth man for them, being that lead guy in those minutes when LeBron is not on the floor. Because certainly the Lakers are going to try to load manage LeBron, if not during games, certainly outside of games. But you can't have LeBron playing 34 to 38 minutes a game now at this stage of the career because now you're really just trying to get to the playoffs. And you're trying to be a top 4 seed. If the Lakers are a top 4 seed in the playoffs, then they feel like LeBron can carry them from there.
Right.
So that's where having those ball handlers is so important. And, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope opting out of his deal. I don't see the Lakers re-signing him for more than what they were paying him last season.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was going to be my question as well. We do know that Anthony Davis opted out of his deal. We expected. Right. We expected that. We expect him to re-sign with the Lakers at a better deal. So that's not new. Somebody tried to drop that like, oh, Anthony Davis is on the move again. It's like, no, stop. Yeah, let's.
The Lakers would have to really fumble this to send him away. They'd have to be like, they'd have to show disinterest or something. That's the only way he's not re-signing in LA. Right.
We do know that not only has Westbrook been mentioned in trade talk with teams like the Clippers, teams like the Knicks, as well as Charlotte, James Harden apparently wants to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and that deal might involve Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and some draft picks. So we're waiting.
I don't think that happens though, because Kyrie Irving. The stories are that Kyrie does not want James Harden because how could they play together? Those are two ball-dominant guys,
right? And
then you're going to ask Kevin Durant essentially to have to deal with both of them.
Yeah, man.
And Kevin Durant's coming off of Kevin played with Russ. Okay, he got away from Russ because Russ did not know how to get him the ball, right? That's what his thought was. Russ ain't getting me the rock in places that I need it when it's time to get it. He goes to Golden State, and you get all the touches you want because the ball moves all the time. And if you open, take the shot. Mm-hmm. Well, the ball ain't going to move in Brooklyn already because once you add Kyrie, you are slowing down ball movement. So you're going to give it to James and Kyrie when you know James will not play off ball.
You know what? I would be shocked and amazed if James Harden alters his game to be a catch shooter. That he's going to let Kyrie run the show, let Kevin do Kevin, and then he just, have his moments and catch and shoot like he expects other people to do.
Which one of them came there to be the third guy? That's what I want to know. See, in any of these big three situations that we talk about, somebody has to decide and understand that they're the third guy.
Right.
Kevin, and let's go back to the Celtics. Kevin Garnett knew he was the third guy on offense.
Right.
Wasn't no problem for him. He came there to be defensive guy.
Right.
He was going to lock down the front court. Let Ray and Paul Pierce get the shots.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
You go to the next big three in Miami. Chris Bosh had to figure that out. I'm the third guy.
Right.
That's my job.
Yep.
You gonna tell, but Chris Bosh wasn't the MVP, and Kevin Garnett was past his prime. So you're gonna tell Kevin Durant, who left Golden State,
right, of all places,
that you're gonna be the third guy. You're gonna tell Kyrie, who has left a championship season in Cleveland, left Boston, and came to Brooklyn, and coerced Kevin, because clearly they were working together, right, to get this deal done, and also convinced DeAndre Jordan to sign there. And you telling me they're gonna bring in James Harden? Man. I don't see James Harden getting traded to a winning team. I see him getting traded to a bottom-level team. Because if I'm the Rockets, that's the only place I'm going to get draft picks. I don't want the players that other people are going to give me. Because we ain't going to win with those players. Right. So give me draft picks and young people that I can flip. I can't flip what they're trying to give you.
Yeah. I said that with Westbrook. I don't want anything that Charlotte has to offer. I definitely don't want anything Orlando has to offer.
I think actually you want stuff that Charlotte has.
Like what?
There are options out there.
Like
if you got Miles Bridges back, if you got PJ, I'm forgetting his name, the forward, the rookie forward, 6'7", can play some power forward and center. PJ Washington. So you get PJ Washington. You could get Devontae Graham, who just came off a year where he was third in the most improved player thing. You could also get back Terry Rozier, who, he's a little bit overpaid, but you got to fit $40 million in. And if you can get picks from them, obviously, too, you want those first rounders from Charlotte, because you still figure they're going to be a mid-range team. They're not ever going to be top four, even because Westbrook is just going to get worse as the years go on. So I give them away to the worst team you can find. Give them away to the worst team you can find, because they're going to only get worse with Russ.
We got to get ready to take a break, and I got to call the good folks over at Butterball. But Willie Gibson just came on and said Washington. We'll come back to that in a second, right here on the legendary KYOK.
Diabetes, and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy. Pick up the phone in the safety and comfort of your home and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with no conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 a.m. and the all-new 92.3 FM.
Big trade, too. A lot of players.
Radio.org.
It's the lunch break on KYOK.
All right, y'all. We're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It's that time when we go out to the good folks who know everything you need to know about turkey. It is the good folks over at Butterball, and joining us right now is none other than Barbara Robinson. Barbara, how are you today?
Hi, Andre. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Had a good weekend, and it's coming up on that time of year. Now, first of all, is this Thursday National Thaw Your Turkey Day?
Oh, you're good. Yes, it is.
And what do we need to do on this Thursday?
All righty. Well, this is, as you said, National Thaw Your Turkey Thursday. It is a week before Thanksgiving. It's when we recommend that everyone take their frozen turkeys out of the freezer and put them in the refrigerator in the coldest. And then you want to allow it to thaw completely. The rule of thumb for that is to allow 4 pounds per day.
Okay.
So you would, if, for example, a 16-pound turkey would take 4 days.
Okay.
All right. And once it is totally thawed, you can keep it in your refrigerator for 4 full days.
Okay. Now you're helping me. So
that's our purpose.
okay. All right. So if we got a 16-pound turkey, we're gonna need 4 days to thaw it out, and then we can keep it in the refrigerator for 4 days before we have to before we have to get it cooked up.
That's right. You have a little bit of leg room there.
Just a little bit. So once we've got it thawed out and now we're ready to get that thing in the oven, a lot of people wonder about cook time. Can you help us with that?
Well, sure. With your Butterball turkey, there is a brochure, a little booklet, and that will help you because we actually use a range. A 10 to an 18-pound turkey, unstuffed, at 325 degrees, will cook for 3 to 3.5 hours. If it's stuffed, you add an hour, so maybe 3 3/4 to 4.5 hours. But this information is available on the little pamphlet that comes with your turkey. Excuse me.
Yeah, we've got Barbara Robinson joining us from Butterball Turkey. She's helping us as we get ready this week for National Thaw Your Turkey Day on this coming Thursday. And of course, next week, next Thursday is the day. And she's talking about cook time. There's a pamphlet that comes with it that gives you an idea of how long, a range, if you will, on how long it takes to cook a turkey, depending upon the size. But Barbara, one of the things that I love about you all is y'all are right there and readily available in multiple different ways. We can call an 800 number. We can text you. We can even chat online. How does all that work?
Absolutely, Andre. You can call us, of course, at 1-800-BUTTERBALL. You can text us at 844-877-3456. You can go to butterball.com where there are many videos, but also we have email and live chat at butterball.com. And of course, there's always Alexa, where you can say, Alexa, ask Butterball, and you can have your questions answered through Alexa. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, so many social media now. We're here to help.
Well, that's the part that we need because there's guys like me out there that are bound to get it wrong. Now, here's the thing I want to ask, and then I got to let you go. After we cook that thing on Thursday, how many days can we keep the leftovers in the refrigerator, and how can we preserve those if we want to keep them for a while?
Well, we're all about food safety here. So we say 3 days. Use up those leftovers, or you can wrap them properly and freeze them for up to 6 months.
All right. Now you're talking my language because, I like to eat.
You love those leftovers.
That leftover turkey is almost as good as the original. I've got a young man from Louisiana that's on the video with me co-hosting, and I know he likes to fry his turkeys. What does he need to know about frying those turkeys?
Well, most importantly, you want to make sure that your turkey is totally thawed when you're going to fry a turkey. That is so important. Make sure your oil comes up to temperature. Make sure that you dry your turkey off before you place it in the oil. You, of course, want to make sure that the temperature stays constant so that you can fry that bird. Let's see, I'm looking it up. It's 3.5 minutes per pound.
Okay.
Like a whole turkey.
All right. I like it.
Okay.
I like Barbara. You are an expert, and we appreciate your time and your treasures. So do me a favor, give them the 800 number again, give them the text line number, and tell them where they can go online.
Absolutely, Andre. It's 1-800-BUTTERBALL. Those are our phone lines. You can call us, you can go to butterball.com where you can reach us through email and also through live chat. Also, we have texting, which is 844-877-3456. We have Alexa helping us. We have Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, so many ways to reach us.
Well, Barbara Robinson, you really helped us out today. I want you to have a great rest of your week and a happy Thaw Your Turkey Day early. And I want you to enjoy that, okay?
Thank you, Andre. Same to you.
All right, my friend. Thank you. That's Barbara Robinson joining us from Butterball Turkey. We've also got some $25 gift certificates to give away. We'll do those on Wednesday. You can be a winner on Winning Wednesday right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. Those are courtesy of Butterball Turkey. You don't have any reason to get it wrong now because you can call them 1-800-BUTTERBALL. You can text them 844-877-3456, or you can go online and you can get them on almost any social media website. So there you go. Butterball Turkey doing it big right here on the lunch break. David Grubb, what you going to do with your turkey this year?
We're still trying to figure because it's only going to be like there's only 3 of us this year because, my mom is going to visit my brother in California. So it's just going to be us. So we tend to do just the breast if it's just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
We don't need to do the whole turkey because with us 3, it's just gonna sit. So
I didn't ask her this, but man, can you barbecue turkey?
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
I mean, you got to cut it.
Yeah, but still,
you got to cut it. You got to cut the breast off. You got to cut the wings off. You got to cut the legs off if that's what you want to do. If you want to smoke it,
it's that turkey leg that I'm thinking about. Get that bad boy on the smoker and put that rub on it. I'm a rub guy, not a sauce guy. Put that rub on it. And just go to town. Might inject it and still put it out there on the grill and just go.
Because if you shred the rest of it, you take the dark meat and you shred it, you still could do the rest of it. You don't have to smoke that, but you can smoke the breast and you can smoke the wings and the leg.
Yeah. There's a guy, I can't say the name of the business because they don't sponsor us, up in Dallas. And his deal is if it don't fall off the bone, it's wrong. And they'll literally credit you back if their turkey leg doesn't fall off the bone, it's wrong. And man, I tell you what, he's got a video out there where all he does is pick that bad boy up and it just falls. And I'm like, man, it don't get no more tender than that.
Turkey, you got to make sure it's tender because turkey will dry out on you in a minute. A minute. You know what I haven't had in a long time is a turducken. That's been a long time since I did that.
Got a bunch of spots here that have them, bro. The turducken. They got.
We used to live not that well. When I grew up, our house was not that far from the original place, the butcher block, the one that John Madden would come down and get his from. Mm-hmm. We used to live not that far from there, so it was pretty easy to get the original turducken. And they did all the other ones too. The chicken that was stuffed or the other ones.
Yeah, there's a couple spots around here that do it big. All right, speaking of big, you got word on a big trade. What just went down?
Chris Paul will be going to the Phoenix Suns, and in exchange for a big haul, they get Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCay, and they're also swapping some draft picks as well. So Phoenix gets its point guard that it's been looking for to take Devin Booker off the ball all the time and be a leader. Ricky Rubio played well for them last year, but I understand, look, if you can get Chris Paul and all you have to give up is that group,
right?
Because Kelly Oubre just wasn't going to fit in there anymore.
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre wants to be a star, and he wasn't going to be a star in Phoenix. So
he can be a star. He can.
For Phoenix, if you want to win now, this is a move. And that shows you that OKC is turning that offense over to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Kelly Oubre. That's their offense going forward.
Yeah. I'm happy for Monty Williams. I'm happy for Monty. Of course, you knew Monty well down there in New Orleans, and he came through some tough times, with his wife passing. Good guy, smart basketball guy, real good IQ, nothing fake or pretentious about him. Didn't win enough, unfortunately, but a good guy. Really glad to see him get another chance. I'm glad to see them putting some pieces around him.
And he was the last person in New Orleans to coach Chris. So, you know, they have a relationship. So they went to the playoffs together in New Orleans. So, yeah, I think that there's already that amount of trust. Monty is very much the kind of coach that Chris communicates well with, in that he is structured, that there will be a clear voice. There is not that freelance thing that he had in Houston that he had to worry about. And if you're Chris Paul and you look around, you got a DeAndre Ayton that looked like he was coming alive at the end of that 8-0 run that they had in the bubble. Right. Devin Booker is certainly somebody that you know can score. You just want to see him elevate himself at the other parts of that game. And they got to keep Mikal Bridges, who is a tremendous wing defender, and to play that small forward spot. So if they can secure themselves at the 4, Phoenix is a very good. I mean, you know, they have as good a shot as anybody to be a 6 through 8 in the West. Right.
That's the thing, man. There are a lot of teams are going to be competing for that top 8 that weren't necessarily in it this past year. So
it'll still be 12 or 13 teams, because if they do a play-in again like they did this year, it'll still be, you know, 5-6 teams vying for that spot, that 8th spot when we come down to the last 2-3 weeks of the season.
Well, I tell you what, if things keep going the way that they're looking like they're going to go here in Houston, Rockets won't be one of them.
No.
Yeah, without Harden, without Westbrook, or one or the other, it's a whole different team, a very different team.
Yeah, it's going to be addition by subtraction is what you're hoping, is that you take the step back, but you've gone as far as you can go with this group. And you peaked 2 years ago. Peaked 2 years ago, and that's fine. That's how runs end sometimes. You peak, you tried to tweak it again, and it just didn't work. Right. And it's time for everybody to move on. What I also think is funny with Harden and Brooklyn, Mike D'Antoni just left. He just left all this behind. Do you think, and as an assistant, if I'm Steve Nash, do you really want those problems too? Like, you think about Nash, D'Antoni, Stoudemire, KD, Kyrie, James Harden, DeAndre Jordan. That's a lot of personalities in one locker room to manage.
I said I give a lot more respect to the Eric Spoelstras, to the Steve Kerrs, to and I hate to say his name, but Phil Jackson, to those guys, because coaching all those stars is not as easy, because with big stars come big egos.
And you got to have
think that they are.
Yeah, it's got to be the right mix of people. Just because you have stars, everybody say, well, give me the stars and I'll figure it out. You can't have 5, stars who all think that they're the star. You can't have 3 stars who all think that they should have the ball. You can't have people who don't fit. And just because people are good basketball players doesn't mean they fit as teammates. Right. And that's the whole thing. It's not 2K. You are not just plugging in images and computer programmed people. These are human beings. Right. And that is a very weird chemistry at any time to figure out. And when it works, that's why we say it's special, because it's so hard to find and put together.
Yeah. I almost got to throw Doc in there, not from his time in LA, but from his time in Boston.
He was the right voice for that group. Yeah.
Right. And I was just going to say Pat Riley, same thing with OLA. A number of people in Boston with the Parrish and McHale and Ainge and those guys. But it just goes to show you, just because other people make it look easy doesn't mean that it is.
That's why you have so few coaches who have championships.
Right.
It is and most who do have them have one. They don't get 2, 3, 4, 5. That is so rare, because getting a championship team is such an art, and that's what people forget. They think it's something that you can just do if you assemble pieces. No, it is an art, and a lot of it is basing your team on who do you want, not the name of the person, but the characteristics of the person. And the teams that identify those things in their free agents, in their draft picks, however they assemble their roster, that supersedes the talent. That's why you see teams who really win. Look at the Patriots all those years, and whatever we want to say about Bill, he found more guys that nobody had heard of.
Right.
Because he was looking for specific things. Is this guy versatile? Does he understand? Is he smart enough to do what I ask him to do?
Yep.
Those were things that were more important than their 40 times, this, that, and the other. He was looking for football players that fit his scheme. And that's what you have to do in the NBA. You can't just take players and drop them in. We've seen that fail.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Yankees trying to buy championships. That didn't work. And they went out and got the biggest names of the biggest names. And it didn't always work. But that's also why I give Greg Popovich all the credit that I do. I mean, a Manu Ginobili, a young kid named Tony Parker to go along with Tim Duncan and the Admiral and everybody else, and then sliding in some Patty Mills and, some Bertans and some other, guys that you just, you never even heard of.
Nobody knew who Kawhi was when he came to San Antonio. Nobody knew. He had played power forward and center for most of his life.
Yeah.
And now he turned into one of the greatest small forwards of his era. That nobody knew that. Nobody, and like you said, Ginobili, nobody knew. Tony Parker was 19. It's coming from France. No one knew. But Popovich knew what he wanted. He knew the players that he wanted.
Yeah, I'm wondering how things are going to work out. Do you think the Lakers will still pursue DeMar DeRozan now that they've got,
I just don't see the fit for them with DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
I think he fits a different team. The Lakers are a half-court team. DeMar DeRozan seems, because he doesn't shoot the three tremendously, and he doesn't have to. But I think you saw how good the Spurs were playing with him as a small ball four and running in transition. The Lakers aren't going to do that enough. They're not going to trap on defense enough. They're going to they play man-to-man and funnel people towards AD. That's what towards JaVale McGee. So or towards Dwight Howard, whoever is going to be there at that center spot. There. So I just what else do you have to give if you're the Lakers? Because you don't have picks.
Right.
What players are you giving the Spurs that they're going to want? Because they're going to want young players.
Right.
And they're going to want picks. If I'm the Spurs, that's what I want. Because they've got to get better.
Right. Now, I was just going to ask, what are they going to do? Because they rarely rebuild through free agency. I mean, they brought DeRozan in. They tried to bring in
DeRozan was Kyrie trade. I mean, the Kawhi trade.
Yeah, I know.
LaMarcus Aldridge is the only one. Yeah, LaMarcus is really the only big free agent that they've signed.
They tried to get Morris, and then he opted to go to one of the LA teams.
We went to New York first, and then he ended up in LA.
Right. So they don't normally build through free agency, but they got the number 11 pick in the draft. I mean, who's the transcendental player that they can find at number 11, unless they bring in another kid from overseas that we don't know anything about, and it turns out to be, Luka.
But see, everybody wants picks in next year's draft.
Right.
Because next year's draft is supposed to be significantly better than this year's draft. This is the draft everybody wants to trade back in for value. Well, if you're the Spurs, I'm sure, look, the Spurs are not going to mortgage anything to move up. They're not going to give up something to move up in the draft. So they're going to sit at 11. If somebody else wants to come up and get 11, I'm sure they would shop it. But to get a veteran or somebody who could contribute today or pick next year, they'll give up their first this year for number one next year because they know they're not winning a championship this season. They know, and they're trying to unload DeRozan, and I would imagine they're trying to give LaMarcus Aldridge an opportunity to go somewhere. It's just, again, where are those fits? Like LaMarcus Aldridge is somebody who would really fit in Charlotte. He would fit really well in Charlotte.
Let me ask you this, and then I got to take a break. Would he fit back in Portland?
Yeah, actually, because again, with Nurkic, you move Whiteside out, you get rid of him, you put Nurkic back at center. You got Aldridge to shoot the baseline jumper for you, and he can still post up and shoot the turnaround too. You have Melo coming off the bench as your backup swing small power forward, and you still got your guards. I think it does work. I'd still want them to go out and find a small forward, but if Rodney Hood is healthy and can play, if they can develop somebody else or find another move, he could go back to Portland.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants to. I think they want him. The players want him back anyway.
They love him. They never, hated him. So
Let me get ready to take a quick break. We'll be back with David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
What's up, everybody? It's AJ Jones with the lunch break on the legendary KYOK, AM 1140 and 92.3 FM. It's that time of year when we are reminded of all the things we should be thankful for and that it's more blessed to give than to receive. So with that in mind, on Wednesdays from now through Christmas, we'll give you a chance to win a gift certificate from Butterball. That's right. You can win a gift certificate for a Butterball turkey on Wednesdays on the lunch break between 12 and 2. Just be the right caller, and your Butterball turkey will be on us at the legendary KYOK AM 1140 at 92.3.
You're listening to 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legendary KYOK.
You love your dog.
Your favorite commercial.
Is something bothering him or her and you can't figure out what it is? Maybe they seem slow or lethargic, and maybe they just don't have energy. Wouldn't you like your dog to be living their very best life? PetJoy offers a money-back guarantee on all of its products. If your dog won't eat it or you don't see the results you want, just let us know and we'll make it right. Totally risk-free. What do you have to lose? You can't buy PetJoy multivitamins in a store. The only way you can get them is through this unique radio offer. And if you call right now, learn how to get 2 bottles free with your order. Turn your dog's life around and make him or her a happy camper. Ain't that right, boy? He said call PetJoy right now. 800-296-1459. 800-296-1459. 800-296-1459. That's 800-296-1459.
The lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Just saw a interesting story about LSU. Reportedly, they ignored sexual assault charges or accusations. Anything about that, David?
Bad. And LSU, since the end of the national championship game, nothing has gone right for LSU. Whether it's Odell Beckham getting in trouble for passing out cash on the field, or whether it's the probation, the self-imposed sanctions that the football program has placed on it. Will Wade having more information leaked about his transgressions in recruiting. The state of the football team on the field, the COVID-19 issues, the tone deafness of Ed Orgeron twice now when it comes to issues of race in his team. First, when this first came up this summer, when he said he didn't understand what the players were talking about and that they felt like they didn't really have the conversation with him that they wanted to, that he kind of just was not receptive to what they were saying. And then last weekend when a player of his issues a statement about getting pulled over by the police for no reason, having weapons drawn on him, being searched illegally, having his pants unzipped, and all those things. And Orgeron doesn't stand up to defend his player. So all those things are happening. And then on top of this, you add in this history of LSU ignoring sexual assault on campus, which is not uncommon on college campuses in general, which is part of the problem. But then you get into the part again with specifically protecting athletes. Look, there's nothing that's going right, and LSU has some serious problems. And if you lay them at the feet of Scott Woodward, who's the current athletic director, or you go back to the previous administrations, people got to pay. And the problem for LSU is they don't have a way out of these things. These things, there's no way to smooth this stuff over. It didn't work for Michigan State. It didn't work for Baylor. It didn't work. I mean, you can't smooth these things over. And the NCAA is, and the climate that we're in nationally, you can't. I don't see how they can make this look right. All they can do is admit a problem and start dealing with it. But they can't sweep this under the rug. They can't spin it into something else. They can't say we've started dealing with this. No, these are people's lives that have been ruined because they never got their opportunity to have these dealt with honestly and fairly.
Because LSU is in Baton Rouge, which is the capital, and it is a extremely conservative, evangelical area. What's going to happen? Anything? Is anything going to
have to come? It's going to what's going to have to come is the money's never going to stop.
Right.
That's not going to stop. The power people are not going to abandon LSU.
Right.
What it's going to have to come down to is, does the NCAA or the criminal court investigate LSU? Does the FBI do what they had to do at Michigan State and go in after Larry Nassar up there? Do you have to come in and have a Title IX case? And what's problematic is what Betsy DeVos did to make it harder for schools harder for people who had allegations of sexual assault to report them and to be disciplined. So if there's a lot of things that make this murky, but the biggest part is if the LSU Board of Regents is embarrassed, and if enrollment starts to be impacted, and if other donors, the ones who don't care about football, start pulling their money back, if this gets to the House floor and the legislature and somebody starts making a fuss, then administrators will lose their jobs. But that's about it, because they're replaceable anyway, because there's 20 more. It's like stepping on a cockroach in the night. You might have got one, but there's 100 more behind the wall.
Somewhere you can't see them. Yeah, that's the thing I've always said about LSU. More often than not, you're going to go before a judge that graduated from where? LSU. Or is a friend of some big booster from where? LSU.
And even if they didn't go, half the people in this state who never have set foot on that campus but love LSU didn't go there. There are enough people like that powerful in this state too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on record. Michigan State shut it down, burn the buildings. Willie,
I mean, Baylor had a murder in its basketball program, and then it had sexual assault all up, for years, and they still didn't shut it down. It's crazy.
That's why Ken Starr can't tell me nothing. Like, bro, everywhere you've been has been like just unbelievable kinds of problems. And now you're speaking up for Baylor. I will give Matt Rule some credit. What he did there, I guess, kind of turned it around a little bit. But nah, man, during that season right there, there's no reason in the world why that school should have been open. None. It wasn't safe for anybody to be on campus. None. And Kim Mulkey didn't help. All she did is spit gas on it. And that's why I say, man, there's nothing folks like Kim Mulkey, Scott Frost, Ed Orgeron, and the other folks that I can't stand. Now you can tell me. You can't convince me. You care about the kids. You care about the safety. You care about Kim Mulkey. Oh, my daughter would go to school here if I'd let her. Hush. Shut up.
You say that until something happens. That's what everybody say. You take that risk with other people's children.
But that's my point. I want you to go after this thing right now like you would if it had happened to your child. I want the safety on this campus right now to be like it would be if your child went here. If something happened to him, you would move heaven and earth to make sure justice was served. If that happens to somebody that don't look like your child, have that same energy, and right now none of them do.
No, and that's what we talked about in culture with this stuff. The reason why this is a problem, this is why you have to start eventually thinking about this, and I'm for it. It's just that you can't say it all the time because people don't want to hear it, but there's no reason for high-level athletics and college sports to be connected. As long as it's that much money involved and power, this is what happens. You create a privileged class.
Right.
And you're going to see things happen on a college campus regardless. But see, this is the situation where universities are making it easier for things to happen.
Yeah.
And you're facilitating cover-ups, or you're facilitating at the very least the squashing of allegations before they can even be investigated. Yeah. So to me, that only happens. That would never happen for you or I as a student. That would never happen for our kids as students. That kind of privilege is only extended to athletes or the children of people who got a lot of money invested in a school.
Yeah, well, the good news is, one of the good news about this previous election that, some folks don't still want to agree to. I'm going to have some commentary about that before we go. Betsy DeVos is gone. I'm so glad. I am so glad that she is gone. If she's not packing up right now, you cannot come back and get your stuff. We will mail it to your address on record, on file. She's gone, and maybe we can salvage some of the stuff that she literally destroyed. And I guess I got to assume it was at somebody else's behest. But yeah, that lady's gone, and I'm real glad about it. For the sake of our school and schools and our students, she gone. Thank you, Jesus.
Well, her job was to destroy the Department of Ed. That was her job. That's why they brought in Bill Barr to destroy the Department of Justice.
He gone.
They brought in, her to do that, and they brought in people to destroy these other departments, the ones that they don't want funded for. They brought in people whose intent from day one is dismantle them. So
I hate to be disrespectful, but nah.
How's it disrespectful? I don't know that one. You call him out a name?
Hey. Oh, I can't say it like I want. I can't say it like I want to, David Grubb. I can't say it
GTFOH.
like I want to.
There you go, GTFOH.
Bruh, bye. But anyway, David, let me get Sybil Wilkes on with her COVID update, and then I guess we got to get to this little league that they play every now and then on Sundays called the NFL.
What is y'all doing in Houston, boy?
Bruh, I got some strong thoughts about the Houston Texans. In fact, I should have had him on today, but Garrick Jones is going to be on tomorrow with me, and I just got to know, man, is everybody going to go? Because Anthony Weaver, good dude, but during money time, he didn't even come close to paying off. And Tim Kelly probably called the worst game of his career, and that ain't saying much because he's already bad. And it wasn't red zone stuff. And if I hear red area one more time, I'm going to find Bill O'Brien and slap him again. But it's just ridiculous that that team got out there and performed the way that they did yesterday in a game that they clearly could have won. And then, of course, we got to talk about Drew Brees, his injury, and what the Saints do next. So we'll do that. It is time for Sybil Wilkes and her COVID update right here on the lunch break.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today. Donald Trump walked back a tweet in which he said President-elect Joe Biden won the election while continuing to spread unsubstantiated conspiracy theories about a rigged presidential election. He has thus far refused to acknowledge Biden's victory, with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying last week the department would transition to a second Trump administration. Over the weekend in Washington, D.C., thousands of Trump supporters descended on the nation's capital for the Million MAGA March to denounce the election results and repeated unfounded allegations of widespread voter fraud. At least 20 people were arrested and 2 police officers were injured. 1 person was stabbed and remains in critical condition. The United States has reported more than 100,000 new COVID-19 cases for 12 consecutive days. There are now almost 11 million confirmed cases in the country. Please visit SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
You're listening to The Lunch Break on KYOK.
Yeah, it was a sister that got stabbed that's in critical condition, and they got the nerve to say she was the one carrying the knife. So what are we saying, that she stabbed herself? Man, I'll tell you what, I'm not against people having different political beliefs, but this nonsense of every time something happens to somebody black is their fault. Y'all gonna miss me on that. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, 2021 is going to be totally different than 2020 is. And folks running around here threatening and going to do this and going to do that if this election ain't overturned. Okay, all right, okay. My daddy used to say, every now and then you're going to run up on somebody that's a little bit badder than you, and you're going to run up on them, and it's just going to be a tough day. So, okay, all right. Yes, indeed. Holly Glory. David Grubb?
I'm on this one. I'll let this one go.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Lance Wallnau. If y'all are followers of Lance Wallnau, he's a world-renowned televangelist. Don't let Lance Wallnau get y'all in the situation y'all can't get out of, and the angels of Africa and South America ain't gonna come and protect you from, because I'm just telling y'all, man, these televangelists about to get y'all in some trouble y'all can't get out of. So I'm just gonna pray for you. I'm gonna leave it at that. But Toby say, try Jesus. Don't try me, because I throw hands. So I'm just saying, be careful. Be careful. David, we got a minute and a half before we have to hit the top of the hour. Now we got a minute. I talk too much. Let's hit the top of the hour, and then let's get to the Texans. Mm-hmm. Let's get to Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. Let's get to God doggone, man, that doggone DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is like the ex-girlfriend that got finer after she got rid of you.
Hopkins, but you knew he was fine. That's the thing. It's like you knew this chick. She didn't get finer. You just knew she was fine. She broke up with you, and like she left you, and she's still fine. You ended up with an ugly woman. That's what happened.
Martin Lawrence says you went down. So fine. We just got to work it out. We got to work it out.
She gone.
DeAndre, come back, man. We sorry. We sorry. He gone.
Like Houston did him wrong. So that's the thing. He didn't do Houston wrong.
I know.
Houston did him wrong. So Houston broke up with him. Houston broke up with him and said, "We don't need you." So
stand by, David. Stand by.
The legendary 1140 AM KYOK Conroe 92.3 FM.
I don't like it. Got boomerang.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely
kicked out for the feet.
And callers.
They kicked DeAndre Hopkins out with his feet.
Do not in any
way
opinions of KYOK
radio.
radio.
Halle Berry, man. Love should have brought
or management.
Okay, we're back here on the lunch break, and David Grubb done got me all in my feelings, man. I'm going to be sending DeAndre Hopkins like little secret messages. You know I'm thinking about you, right?
DMs.
You know we miss you. I mean, I still think about you all the time. Bruh, it's not right. It is not fair. And if I'm Cal McNair, I didn't mean to rhyme right there. If I'm Cal McNair, anybody and everybody that was in that room the day that they said, you know what's a good idea? If we trade DeAndre Hopkins, what we gonna get for him? It don't matter. Let's just trade him. Okay, let's get a shot. Fire everybody. Fire everybody. Whoever hit the elevator and let you on the floor to get up there and trade DeAndre Hopkins, you got to fire them too. You got to fire them too. Parking lot attendant who let you in the parking lot. Everybody connected with that DeAndre Hopkins trade has got to go right now.
Yeah, because how those pieces that you got returned working out for you. Brandon Cooks, how'd that work out yesterday? David Johnson, what did he do yesterday? What, 3.6 yards a carry? That's what he had. And most of them came on. You take away that one carry of 20-something yards, you get arrested. It's like 13 carries for 30-something yards. Yo, it's bad. It's bad. And to see the way that with 54 plays of offense for the whole game against the Browns, and then you get dominated on the offensive line, you get dominated on the defensive line, you let Nick Chubb run for 230 yards. Come on. That's just, I mean, you let them grind you into the ground, and you know coming in is you want to force Baker Mayfield to make throws so you can take advantage of his decisions. And he only had to throw 22 balls and completed the ones he had to complete. So you didn't even make it. You didn't get pressure on him. They didn't hit him, but one time, get one sack and a couple of hits. When he did drop back, so he wasn't under pressure. There's a fail. You missed the one field goal that you attempt, and look, that's just, there was nothing redeeming about that performance. There's not a single player who can walk off that field and say, "I did my job today." And not one coach either. That's
where I am now, because Bill O'Brien put this roster together. And I said in my final tweet last night, thank you, Bill O'Brien, for this roster, because this roster is not a winning roster. It is not an AFC South winning roster, which they like to hang their whole belief in everything that they hold dear on winning the AFC South. You couldn't win the AFC South with this roster, let alone an AFC championship or a Super Bowl. So it's not even the roster anymore. Now it's the coaches, because Tim Kelly, to get down there in the red zone twice, and you came away with nothing. You came away with absolutely nothing. You went for it on fourth and short instead of putting 3 points on the board, came away with nothing, and then you missed a field goal down there. I'm sorry, man. That's just ridiculous. And Anthony Weaver is not getting it done. You had one job on that last drive. Stop him, get the ball back. Not only do you not stop him, you run some stupid stunt that all they did was run where you vacated, and then this guy runs down the field for a bunch of yards and then decides to go out of bounds so that they can run out the clock. That's embarrassing, and he should have been fired before he got off the field.
Like I said, they've quit. That team's quit. Everybody's quit. They know. I think that they were ready to quit before the season began. The people who were the real core of that team, because they knew once the Hopkins trade happened that they had given up on the season, that the team had given up on the season. And is J.J. Watt even playing football anymore?
Bro, let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to say this, and if I lose listeners and followers and viewers and all that, it's just got to be done. The myth that J.J. Watt has this never-ending motor is over. This myth that J.J. Watt has a never-ending motor go back and watch the game. Go back and watch how many times J.J. Watt got himself out of position and did not even chase the play down, and the play was still no more than a yard away from him. The back or the wide receiver was still moving, getting yards, and J.J. Watt didn't come and clean up the pile. J.J. Watt didn't tackle or chase anybody from behind. J.J. Watt gave up on the play, and it was more than one, and I highlighted every single one of them. You got to stop saying J.J. Watt has this never-ending motor, because he doesn't have that anymore.
No, and again, you can't take away the things that other people did to allow him in his best years. See, that's the thing. People undervalue what you had at defensive tackle in Will Wolfolk when he was there. Undervalue what Jadeveon Clowney did for
DJ
Watt. All those guys who did the work on the inside for a number of years. But this started a year ago.
Right.
Really, game one against the New Orleans Saints is when you first really started to see that diminished level of talent, or that at least that diminished level of it, that motor against somebody who he should, in a year before or a previous year, you would have said he's supposed to tear that guy. A rookie shut him out last year. And you're seeing that on a consistent basis. He's not getting sacks. He's not getting hits. He's not getting pressures. And if you're great, I'm sorry, even on bad teams, Aaron Donald, when the Rams were bad last year, Aaron Donald still played at Defensive Player of the Year levels. You know what I mean? This is what your job is, to continue to come out and perform. And you're supposed to be the leader, the franchise player. And where are you, dude? Where is your leadership at this point? Where is your command of or your respect in the locker room to at least get guys to play with some more pride and to care about and say, hey, this is, if it ain't for them, it ain't for the coaches, it ain't for the fans, it's for us to have some pride. I don't see J.J. Watt inspiring anybody.
Yeah, and I said that Friday. I said that the voice that needs to be speaking up in that locker room does not need to be J.J. Watts. It doesn't need to be anyone connected with that Bill O'Brien regime, because as much as people want to criticize Russell Wilson for being corny, and some people have said it's borderline scary because of how generic he is, guess what? J.J. Watt is right there. The dude will say stuff that will just make you roll your eyes and wish that you could throw up right then and there. And people in that locker room are tired of it, especially when they see he ain't being double teamed anymore. He's certainly not being triple teamed. They're not even putting the back on that side to chip him. They know what J.J. Watt is going to do. He's going to overextend himself, and they got a clear lane right where he no longer is. And like I said yesterday, there were times when they didn't run away from him because they were afraid to run at him. They ran away from him because they knew he wasn't going to chase the play down from the backside, and it gave them an extra blocker in front of the play so that they didn't have to even concern themselves with him on the backside. If he didn't come down the line and get it while it was in the backfield, he wasn't going to get it downfield.
No, he's not a pursuit player. Not anymore.
And but watch this. Even when he was in his prime, there was one of the advanced metrics that had the number of tackles that Jadeveon Clowney had past 10 yards downfield compared to J.J. Watt, and it wasn't even in the same zip code.
No, we know that. That's the thing, is we know that J.J. Watt was helped a lot by the fact that he had high sack numbers. And sack numbers are not always correlative to impact.
It's the sexy stat, and it doesn't always correlate to game impact. I mean, you know, I've seen teams have multiple sacks in a game and lose. So now you're talking about personal stats versus that helped us win. So I'm just saying, man, this team has got to, you talk about reinvent itself and rebuild, and JJ said he wouldn't be a part of a rebuild. Get his tail out of here, and you don't have any obligation whatsoever to trade him to a contender. You have an obligation to get the most you can back for this franchise, for these season ticket holders, and for the people that spend their good hard-earned money going down there to those games.
Considering what you got back for DeAndre Hopkins, what do you expect J.J. Watt's value to be at this point?
A second and a fourth.
Hopkins is, top 3 receiver in the league.
And
J.J. Watt ain't a top 5 D end anymore.
Right.
I don't know if he's top 15 at this point.
If you get a second and a fourth back from him, you did real good. You did real well.
If you get one pick back for him now, you might be doing well.
Right.
Because I wouldn't get. Would you get unless you are a Super Bowl team and you're saying we need to add one more situational pass rusher because he's not a 4-down guy anymore, not a 3-down guy anymore. So I would just say if I'm looking for a situational pass rusher and I can eat that salary for a short term, then I would consider doing it. But other than that, you're not going to build for the next 3, 4 years, 5 years with J.J. Watt as your primary defensive player.
No, you're not. And I'm telling you now, if I'm Pittsburgh, I don't need him.
No.
And I'm not going to get him just so he can play with his brothers. I mean, that's a nice story. That's a nice Disney movie, but that's not reality. Pittsburgh does not need J.J. Watt, and I don't think they want him either.
No, I don't. Why would they? They got the better Watt right now. They got the better one. So why are you going to go out and get a lesser version? And the Steelers showed yesterday that defense is still pretty solid. I mean, look, there's only one team that if you're competing against, if you're Pittsburgh, there's one team you're thinking about. It's Kansas City because you figure everybody else I could beat. And you're 9-0. You're sitting there and you're saying, everybody else I know I can beat in the AFC.
Yep.
So the one team you're thinking about is Kansas City, and pass rushers are not going to – having more pass rushers doesn't necessarily help you against Kansas City because they love it when you bring the pressure.
That's right.
Patrick Mahomes loves the blitz. Please blitz me.
Yep.
And so, I don't see why you would give up anything for a pass rusher. If anything, if I'm Pittsburgh and I'm going to add something, it's either more depth at linebacker because you're rarely going to play 3 linebackers when you play against the Chiefs, or you want depth at the safety spot so that you can have people who can play both inside, at the line and in coverage.
Absolutely.
Not getting another pass rusher.
Right. Yeah. No, I got to tell you, man, and Pittsburgh's mission and goal is to get that number 1 seed and have Kansas City come to them.
Yep.
And right now they're in that driver's seat. So now you don't waste that by trying to fill in this good news story of bringing J.J. Watt to Pittsburgh.
And what do you say to an undefeated team right now? And one of those guys on that defense is going to lose his snaps because you brought in, J.J. Watt. Why mess with? Unless you see a glaring need, somebody's got to be hurt. And even then, now, you passed the deadline, so it's too late. So they'd have to release him.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh's not first in line to get him if he gets released. So let me take a break. We'll be right back with more. David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com, with us on Media Monday. We're going to go through the NFL and talk about the Saints next, right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's AJ Jones with the lunch break on the legendary KYOK, AM 1140 and 92.3 FM. It's that time of year when we are reminded of all the things we should be thankful for and that it's more blessed to give than to receive. So with that in mind, on Wednesdays from now through Christmas, we'll give you a chance to win a gift certificate from Butterball. That's right. You can win a gift certificate for a Butterball turkey on Wednesdays on the lunch break between 12 and 2. Just be the right caller, and your Butterball turkey will be on us at the legendary KYOK AM 1140 at 92.3.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
The
the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
Hey guys, this is your girl Brandy Nelson, and you are listening to The Lunch Break on KYOK.
All right, we are back here on The Lunch Break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It is our Media Monday. Just had a bunch of people text me about their J.J. Watt. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, he's still Mr. Houston and all that. Will always be a hometown favorite. So was Hakeem Olajuwon, ended up in Toronto. So was Tracy McGrady. He gone. I mean, it just happens, y'all. And that's I've said this since I've been here. This is the one town, and I've lived in many, that hangs on to people for far too long. I mean, just hangs on to them forever. And they're not the same players. And you can't get better hanging on to them. And I know. You can always erect some kind of monument or memorial of them, and you can always bring them back after they're gone. It's funny how they didn't have any problem doing that with Andre Johnson. They certainly didn't have a problem doing it with DeAndre Hopkins, but they got a problem doing it with J.J. Watt and Brian Cushing and Craig Biggio and these other people. For Christ's sake, dude. If loving you is wrong, guess what? I don't want to be right, but I don't want to be stupid either.
I mean, like you look at it, what J.J. Watt hasn't had a 2-sack game since Baltimore.
Bruh.
He only has 6 tackles for loss this entire season. And in 9 games, he has 8 hits on the quarterback.
Bruh.
That's garbage. That's just absolute garbage. That's not what you pay him to do. You don't pay him to get 4 sacks, man. Trey Hendrickson. Like you talk about this, Trey Hendrickson, who is what, a 5th round draft pick, and Trey Hendrickson out there leading the league in sacks, and this is a guy who won Defensive Player of the Year. Now see, that's how far this is. You know, we're 5 years past that now. Look, 5 years past that.
Look on the other side of the ball yesterday. Myles Garrett was a disruptor and got to the quarterback and got sacks and literally overran a play, bit too hard on the bootleg, but was athletic enough to get back and force him to get out of bounds without being able to turn the corner comfortably. Once J.J. Watt is out of position, it's over for him. It is now 11 on 10 because J.J. is out of position. And I said it with Kansas City last year. When they beat Kansas City in the regular season, guess what they did come playoff time? They let J.J. beat J.J., and they ran everything where he wasn't. They threw it where he wasn't. They ran it where he wasn't because he was not going to regroup, recover, and run the play down. And guess what? That's great. I'll take 10 on 11 in football every day of the week.
Yep.
And that's not hard. If I figured that out, you mean to tell me the Andy Reids and the Eric Bieniemys and the Greg Romans and the other people can't figure it out?
Teams, once they've figured out your tendencies, and a lot of older players do this, you start to compensate for your lost athleticism by trying to do just one thing. And you can see that every play is not a pass rush situation. You have to be able to be a more well-rounded player, and he's no longer giving you tackles for loss don't have to be quarterbacks. You're talking about running backs. You're not getting penetration. You're not getting around that edge to even slow up teams that are running the ball 40 times against you. If somebody runs the ball 40 times and you're not getting a single tackle for loss, man, what are you doing?
Well,
what are you doing?
I'll say this. Both of Cleveland's running backs ran for over 100. Baker got sacked how many times? Let me see.
Once. Yeah. And he got hit twice.
Baker got sacked one time for 7-yard loss. So tell me what JJ did again?
1 tackle for loss.
In a game that you could have won. All you needed was a stop and put your quarterback, who was the best quarterback in the game, back on the field and give him a shot. You're down 10-7. All you need is a stop to get the ball back.
I mean, you look at it. He's what, ranks 7th on the team in tackles? 7th?
On the team.
On the team in tackles. He's just not doing anything of note. And that is a huge problem and even with that tells you how bad the rest of that defense is that he's still leading the team in sacks and tackles for loss.
And that's why I say, man, I gotta give Bill O'Brien all the credit for this roster.
Yep.
But I gotta say something about the sous chef and the head chef, and that is Tim Kelly and Anthony Weaver. Mm-hmm. You are not getting the job done. And I said, Tim Kelly has inherited Bill O'Brien's inability to be an effective play caller in the red zone. And it's just, that's ridiculous, man. That's money time. You're not paying off. Anthony Weaver, all you got to do is get a stop. Get a ball back to your offense. Let's go. You didn't do that. That's money time. You didn't pay off. I'm sorry, man. Get everything out of there that is connected with Bill O'Brien. Anything that they keep over next year, other than moving Romeo Crennel up in the front office away from the team, is a mistake. If they keep Jack Easterby in any form other than, logistics for hotels and travel and Corona and that kind of stuff, anything other than that, anything football related, you got to you messed up. You've messed up. And if
people don't look at that 10-7 and say, oh, the defense must have played well. No, you couldn't stop them. They just held onto the ball all day.
Yeah.
Like they knew that they couldn't make mistakes because they're scared of them.
Right.
If you're Cleveland, because that's what's been killing them all year. So they just decided, oh, you're going to let us pound this football right down your throat? Then that's what we will do.
Yep. It was almost like Big Ten football. And I'm talking about Woody Hayes, 3 yards and a cloud of dust.
It would have been, they got 10 and they were like, if you can't pressure somebody who scores 10 points, that's on you. That's on you. In the NFL, there's not against that team, not against the Cleveland Browns, who are not the worst team in the NFL, but should have no business holding you to 7. No.
With Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, and a healthy Brandon Cooks, and a healthy Will Fuller.
They couldn't protect him either, and you get no running game. You have no – come on, David Johnson, it gives you nothing. The most effective runs that they got were from Deshaun Watson.
And that wasn't even David Johnson. That was Duke Johnson. David Johnson was out of the game with what we knew he had a problem with before you gave him before you brought him in here, and that's concussions. And sure enough, the guy has had another concussion. So, I mean, you're just saying they need to rehire Bill O'Brien, fire him again, rehire him, fire him again. They need to do that 10 times so he just knows how mad we are.
That's why I keep telling people, why would you want that job? What kind of head coach you going to get for that job? And they tried to do, unless you get somebody who's like a Brian Flores, who, in spite of the fact that the Dolphins were out and out trying to lose, and he continued to coach that team up. And then this year you see them take another step forward. They win again yesterday, and they keep moving forward. You can't, unless you find that kind of guy who just doesn't care and says, I know it's going to be rough, but I love it. But the problem is you still don't have any picks. If you're going to be bad, at least have some picks. The Dolphins had picks to get better. The Texans don't have any picks.
Let me take a break, and I'll tell you who the leading candidate is when we come back on the lunch break.
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. 2 radio stations in one.
You're home. You're a diabetic. You need supplies, but you don't want to visit the pharmacy. What do? Call US Med for home delivery of your supplies. If you have diabetes and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy, pick up the phone in the safety and comfort of your home and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
Hey, this is Raven Rogers from the University of Oregon 800 meters, NCAA, 3-time NCAA champ, art major, Spanish fluent, Houston native right here. And you're listening to The Lunch Break with KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back here on The Lunch Break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Raven Rogers went on to win the indoor and the outdoor 800-meter championship one more time. And sure enough, I go to my Facebook, and she's on my timeline because her aunt is having a birthday. So Raven Rogers, just a bad girl. She's on her way to the 2021 Sochi Olympics. Be sure to look out for her. I hope she comes home with some gold, if not some silver, if not some bronze. I don't want her past that, David. I don't want her past that.
If we have an Olympics next year,
we're gonna have an Olympics next year. They finna hit them with that Moderna vaccine.
Eric might not be able to go.
They gonna hit them with that Moderna vaccine, bro. We're gonna have that in April.
Okay. I mean, I hope for the best.
Hey,
you know, I hope for the best.
David, I learned something over the weekend. You can have a press conference and claim something that hasn't happened yet as if it did. So I'd like to announce that the Texans are going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but we're calling the press conference to claim it right now. How about that?
If you so desire.
Well,
so desire.
They had a press conference on Friday to claim that they had a vaccine that was not available to anybody yet. And I'm like, wait.
They've done that. That's 4 years of that. With the healthcare plan, you still waiting on that. He said 2 weeks on the healthcare plan that he has. So, I don't believe it. We should just, I don't understand why we even listen anymore. Because it's all lies. I mean, I wouldn't trust that man if he told me my own name. So.
I just don't understand how we take a victory lap and the game is still going. I don't understand. And we're not winning on the scoreboard. So
I told you they won on the scoreboard because you see what they're doing. They won. They are still doing the same stuff. Have they stopped? Are they any less emboldened?
No.
Are they? So they didn't lose because they're still out there saying the same stuff, and people are still believing it and are still willing to act on it. So as long as you can convince people to do it, and you can convince them that your side is right, you ain't lost. Because even in defeat, it gets to be even greater to them because it's stolen. And these are the same people that said that they tried to steal it the last time, but couldn't steal it the last. And I'm sorry if my conspiracy was to take out Trump, and I ain't take out McConnell, and I didn't take out all these other people that I could take. Man, that's a terrible conspiracy.
Right.
The worst conspiracy ever. You're planning.
I cheated at the ballot box and with write-in ballots, and I still wrote in Lindsey Graham, and I still wrote in Mitch McConnell. Come on, man, please. It
would have been easy if you were going to commit the fraud. It would be easier to take down a Senate race,
right,
than it would be to take down a presidential race.
And let me go on to say what I want to say right now. Let me hold on, David. Let me get this queued up real quick because this has been burning in my chest. So let me get this ready.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
Okay, let me go and say this real quick. If you are, and I'm talking to one group, I'm not talking to the 73 million people that voted for President Trump. You're allowed to vote for whoever you want to. You're allowed to believe in whoever you want to. But I'm talking to my brothers and sisters in Christ. If you literally believe some of this garbage that you're out there running around reposting and repeating and trying to get other people to believe, that's just, I'm sorry. At this point, it's just ridiculous. It's just beyond belief. It's irrefutable that you are the problem. You're not part of the problem. You are the problem. And I'm telling you now, do not claim the same God that I claim. Do not claim the same Christ that I claim, because you are an embarrassment to the body of Christ with that nonsense. There is nothing anywhere that said this man is entitled to anything, let alone the White House. You are the same people that had us believe that God put him in office 4 years ago, and you now have the audacity to say that God does not have the right or the ability to remove him from the White House. You are an embarrassment. And I feel sorry for you, and I pray for your soul. I don't want to hear anything else. You can't even apologize at this point. Your apology is not for me. You need to get on your knees, and you need to pray for that who you say you believe in, because I'll tell you the truth that you don't want to hear. Trump is your God. Donald Trump is your God. And you have a price to pay to having another God before your God. And it is time out for playing with you. It is time out for listening to you. It is time out for putting up with you. You are an embarrassment to the entire body of Christ, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And you're going to have a price to pay. And that don't have nothing to do with anybody that's in office. That's between you and who you say you follow. And that's period, point blank, end of discussion.
You said your word, man. You said your word.
I'm done with it. I'm done. Listen, I'm praying for your soul. I'm not praying for you to have good days. I'm not praying for things to get better for you. I'm praying for your soul, because your soul is required in hell for what you are doing right now. You and those conspiracy theories, you and those, all this other nonsense, your soul is in the balance. Your soul, and everybody that falls because of you, your soul is in the balance. It is better for a millstone to be placed around your neck than for you to cause a young one to stumble. And there's a lot of young ones out there following that nonsense because you got too big of a following, Paula White. You got too big of a following, Lance Wallnau. You got too big of a following, Mike Bickle. You got too big of a following. And you are responsible for every single soul that falls because of you. So yeah, I'm praying for your soul. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you like. All I know is your soul is in jeopardy. And everybody that goes down with you.
Most people are, I mean, look, the business of church has become as much of a problem as the business of politics, the business of sports, the business of this. It is, and once you start making it business, once you have profits to worry about, then you need to watch out who these profits are worried about.
All right, I got somebody calling, and I hope it's one of them. I hope somebody's calling with a rebuttal to that. Hello, you're live on the lunch break. Who's this?
I just called to say, man, brother, this is Keith.
Oh, okay. All right. I was ready, bro. I was ready. You know how the angel walked up on Joshua, and Joshua said, "Do you come in peace?" And the dude said, "Slow down, Doc. I'm an angel of the Lord. You don't want this." I was ready, bro. I was ready.
Bro, listen, man. When the phone clicked in, I felt like a blow of wind in my face. I said, "Ooh, AJ, killing him today, bro."
I can't play with folks no more, man. This is too serious, Keith. People are literally following this nonsense straight to hell, and it has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican, Independent. It is a demon spirit of politics, and there are people with too big of platforms to be out spreading this nonsense, and they are going to have to be held in account.
Yeah, the best way I can sum that up, man, and I call you just say amen and then talk about something different, but I will tell you the best way I can sum that up is Jesus said in Matthew 7, there will be some at the end of the days that was, and I paraphrase, that will say, "Lord, Lord," and I'll look to them and say, "Away from me, I never knew you." And I think it's important that people start, if your belief is in Christ Jesus, that you really start testing the spirit by the spirit and quit following foolish doctrine. Because a man cannot certainly be God.
Nope. It's just that
simple.
simple.
All I'll say about that, man.
It's just that simple. I appreciate you, man. What else you wanted to talk about, Keith?
Man, I want to talk about this, and I'm sorry to change the subject, but I really want to talk about this news that broke this morning about this damning allegations that are coming out against LSU in regards to players and Ed Ogeron, player sexual allegations and Ed Ogeron and his coaching staff ignoring that. And I think one of the things that's really bothering me, probably has got me more upset, about as upset as you on this subject, is the fact that those players, I mean, there are some players that did some egregious things according to those reports to young ladies. And to young ladies that, let's just face it, man, I mean, these are students, right? And there are reports that guys not only sexually assaulted these women, punched some of them and punched a girl in the stomach. The girl had to I mean, these are things that, honestly, a coach should be completely fired and never have an opportunity to coach again if these allegations are true. But the fact that they're coming out now and these players, it is clear and it's documented that these players had done some wrong at some level between the years of 2016 up until now, is a serious and egregious fireable offense that I think the NCAA, who we all know is by far the worst organization in all of sports, but more importantly, the fact that you've allowed this to happen for so long and it's just now coming out at LSU, I think it's going to be a huge problem, and I think Ed Ogeron is going to get the boot, and as well as he should.
Wow. I'm going to let David Grubb respond to that. He, of course, is right there in Baton Rouge, covers LSU extensively. David, your thoughts?
Yeah. It's ultimately going to come down on who puts the pressure. Because LSU folks are incredibly defiant that by nature. When Will Wade stuff came down on him, they all rallied behind Will Wade. They thought Will Wade was getting the unfair treatment at that time. Coach Ogeron just brought him a national championship, so they're not gonna care. They're not gonna care. They're gonna think that this is somebody else's fault. This is somebody else's problem. So it would have to come from the governor, and the governor's friends with Ed Ogeron. So unless there's a federal investigation for Title IX violations or something like that, I really don't see Ed Ogeron losing his job, and that's sad. That's sad because you're right. Everybody associated with this, athletic directors, campus police, any administrators who are involved, those student athletes should be immediately suspended from competition if they are still on campus. Anybody involved with this. If the fact is that even if those allegations came out and somebody buried them for you, you're still complicit in that.
Yeah.
You're still complicit in that. If you knew you did something and you asked somebody or you knew that they were burying it and you never had to deal with it, you're part of that problem too, young man. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something to be said about, and you can say, well, there's something about your integrity and your honor that you can't give away, man. It's just something. And if athletics is supposed to be, we always put this on athletics that it teaches values. Well, it's teaching values. It is absolutely teaching values. So those people have to be accountable for the values that they're teaching those young men. And the young men have to be accountable because somebody has been allowing that to go on, and they may ultimately are responsible for their decisions.
Yeah.
Well, and let me just say this last little thing, man, because this is the part that really just chaps in my head. Two parts. One, you have a guy like Ed Ogeron, and you just nailed it. He won that national championship, and they're going to turn a blind eye. You had a guy like Charlie Strong, who was building a program at the University of Texas, building a program not just based off of winning, but also based off of the most important thing that a young African-American, and any young man, but mainly African-American men that come from broken homes can learn from. And that is to walk away with standards that you can employ in every aspect of your life. But then we run a guy out like that, and I say we because it's I believe it's the fans and more importantly the universities, because of the standards in which we are really shooting for is we don't give a damn about young men in terms of what you do off the field as long as you're performing on the field. And I want to warn all of our parents and people who support our young men, you should make damn sure you sending your kids to places that are supporting the same values you have. And if you don't have values, then don't expect the school or anybody else to put values in your kids, because they're just going to run them for what they can run them for, and then when they're done, they're done.
Yep.
They're back in your home. You're trying to raise them again, and I think it's foolish.
Yeah. Keith, always you take us to another level, bro, and I do appreciate you as always, bro.
Always, man. Same here.
All right, thanks. Longhorn.
That's the fallacy of the sell. That's the fallacy of the sell in college sports is that you can these are people that you can trust your children with, and that they will raise your child and say, I'll be like another father for your child. Nobody can be paid to be your child's father.
Right.
Nobody can be paid to look over your kid. The people who did that in your children's life, the people in my life who did it for me, they didn't do it because they wanted me for something else. They didn't do that because they needed my talent. They did that because they believed in my talent, that they believed in me, and that it wasn't about what I could give them. It was about what they wanted to see me give the world. So when you have somebody who comes into your living room and they're getting paid to bring your child to their campus for the purpose of winning, how can you ever believe that ultimately your child's best interests are at heart? Because their best interest is to win, not to raise a good young man.
That's right. And I like how Keith said that if you don't have the standard yourself, how can you expect that person who's getting paid off the labor of your child to have that kind of standard for your child? And you know, that gets to a bigger problem. I mean, that gets to a level of involvement. And I'm not, this is not a knock. It's a desire for it to be more on every level, from elementary to high school to college, where you are actively involved in the betterment of your child. You know, the teachers and the coaches are byproducts of what you're already expecting and providing at home. You know, it might not be classroom stuff, but it's good morals and values and a value system that is not compromisable. And then you're not going to put them in an environment where you have some control over that, because there's no rule that says you got to send your kid to LSU or UK or UT. You know, you send your child to the best place where they're going to enhance those character traits and value system and what have you. And if they're willing to compromise it, that's the wrong place for your child.
Absolutely. I think that parents have to really continue to look at this and say, who benefits the most from working with my child?
Yeah.
If it's not my child, if my child isn't number one in that equation, then I'm not working with you, because my goal is not for my kid to win a national championship. My goal is not for my child to make it to the NFL. That's not my goal. That can't be my goal as a parent. My goal has to be that my child is put in a position, no matter what it is, to be a success in life. That's my ultimate goal. The rest of that are things that can or cannot happen. I don't have any control over the rest of that, but I have control about the environment I help guide my child to. Ultimately, you know, they're allowed to make their decision. You're 18 years old, make your decision. But if you're asking me and who I'm allowing into my home, you know, to talk to my child before they're able to make that decision, we're going to be real clear about what I expect.
Yep. Got to take a break. We'll come back and wrap this up after this. It's the Lunch Break Media Monday on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
What's up, everybody? It's AJ Jones with the Lunch Break on the legendary KYOK, AM 1140 and 92.3 FM. It's that time of year when we are reminded of all the things we should be thankful for, and that is
funny. They do this stuff on parents
on Wednesdays from now.
And
we'll give you a chance.
Nobody cared when Craig James was over at Texas Tech.
That's right.
You know, it was important for him to be there for his son. But if black parents did that stuff,
on the lunch break between,
we ain't having that.
Look at how they vilified LeVar Ball. Look at how you literally had grown people with children telling
AM 1140
the world that these kids should go against their father, who raised them long before they ever knew there was Alonzo or LiAngelo or LaMelo Ball. I'm sorry, bro. I have a problem with that. I will never tell a black man how to raise their children, not in a society where you don't even know if your child's going to make it home safely, and you got your kids in school, and
they put them in a position, like, again, you never would have heard of those kids without LeVar. Now, I hope he hasn't abused them. They don't seem like they've ever been abused. I think he's tough on them. I don't think they've ever been beaten up or anything like that. But you put them in that position. You don't know who Lonzo Ball is. He's just another kid.
Right.
There's 1,000 kids trying to get known. LeVar made him a household name at 16 years old.
Absolutely.
For passing the ball. For passing the ball, he made a kid a household name.
He said call Petroy.
I ain't mad at LeVar.
At all.
296-1459.
Oh, yeah, they put some pressure on the NCAA and made them change their way.
1459.
Yeah, just figure a new way to skirt.
1459. That's 800-296-1459.
Hey, you want some sports with your lunch? Well, tune in to the
You're having your lunch on the lunch break with KYOK.
All right, so my thing messed up on Raven. I don't like that. I love my Raven Rogers, so we'll figure out how to get that back. But anyway, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm not going to apologize for what I said. I apologize for getting us off track. Drew Brees, the New Orleans Saints. I saw Drew when he got hurt. When he got up, he wasn't okay. He wasn't okay after that hit, in that game yesterday. And now he ended up having to come out of the game. Jameis Winston went in, and now Jameis is going to be, I guess, the guy going forward. What's the update? What's the status on Drew Brees, the New Orleans Saints, and who will be leading them going forward for a little while?
So he's got 2 injuries. He has an injury to his throwing shoulder that he had been working on the last 2 weeks. And now he has a rib contusion, which is certainly, it's one of those things. They said that he basically told Sean Payton when they were walking back on the field after halftime that he couldn't throw. Like it just wasn't possible. That turn of the rib cage was not going to be something that he was able to do. The Saints are in a good position, though. That's the thing. You look at the NFC, and with the Seahawks losing yesterday, San Francisco has fallen completely off now at 4-6. It's really the Packers are the only team that you're chasing. You're not even, because you've got 2 up on Tampa at this point. You swept the series with them. So the Saints can afford to let Brees rest, because the goal here, again, if the Saints are going to get the number 1 seed in the playoffs, that means you're going to have to play on the road at some time anyway. Their goal is to have Brees healthy for the stretch and to be able to go into the playoffs with him healthy like they did last season. And of course, Drew is going to push to come back as early as possible, but this is what you paid Jameis for. It's for this moment.
Right.
You're not asking him to throw for 300 yards every week. Right. That's not what they're going to ask out of him, because they've got so many guys who can do something with the football. So you give it to Alvin Kamara some more. You give it to Latavius Murray some more. You throw it short routes, and you hit those Mike Thomas. And then you also have the ability to take some deep shots with Jameis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So then you look at the schedule. Atlanta, come on. You don't have a murderer's row for the Saints coming up.
Yeah, let's go down. You got the Falcons next week.
At home.
And then you got the Broncos in Denver. You got the Falcons in Atlanta.
A winnable game.
Game is nothing to be afraid of. You got the Chiefs on December 20th, and then everything else is the Vikings at home, no problem, and then at Carolina, and chances are that game won't matter.
Nope.
So
it shouldn't at that point. It'll not in a real way, maybe for seeding, but they should be in. And for Carolina, with Christian McCaffrey already hurt and those types of things, they may be resting guys at the end of the season too, just seeing, getting fresh guys out on the field that last week, much like, just say, hey, we're not making the playoffs, let's at least try to improve our draft spot at that point. So you could be giving away all kinds of things at that point. The Saints are in no rush. They get Brees healthy. If you go 2-2, if Jameis has to play a month and you go 2-2, you're still not in bad shape. You're still not.
Carolina's 3-7. They're 3-7. They are third from the bottom.
Yeah, they've tried. Carolina's look better than 3-7, but they're 3-7, and by that point of the season, it's going to be about the draft pick.
Yeah, they're 3-7. Washington's 2-7, and the Cowboys are 2-7. That's where they are. So right now, like you said, Packers 7-2, Saints second at 7-2, Arizona 6-3, and then you got the Eagles at 3-5. The team that is the concern is Tampa Bay at 7-3, so they're a game behind the Saints.
Remember, it's 2 really because of the division. They've swept
the division. You're right. The head-to-heads, and then you got the Rams 6-3, and you got the Seahawks at 6-3.
So, and all of those teams are flawed. Right. That's the thing. Everybody has a flaw, so it's not like the Saints have to be particularly worried about anyone. They match up fine. Yeah. If they're healthy, the Saints are fine against all of those teams. And so what you're counting on is it's going to come down to a healthy Brees. That's what that's what you bet on when you brought him back this year, is that having him was going to be the difference between winning or not winning a Super Bowl. Because you could have said, we don't want you back. We're ready to move on.
Yeah.
You believe having him is going to get you Super Bowl. So the goal is to have him healthy. If you end up at 10-6 or 11-5, it's not that much of a difference in the NFC this year. And if you still don't have people in the stadiums, which you certainly probably will not, considering what's going on in Michigan, New York, all these places are not going to be able to host any kind of games. Look, if it's no fans, what does home field advantage mean again? What does it mean? So if you're in that same way as the NBA, you just got to be healthy and hot at the end of this season. If you're those two things, you got a chance.
Give me an idea, David, of how many games Drew might miss and how much you're going to depend on Jameis over the next couple of weeks.
I mean, a rib contusion is not easy. And with that shoulder injury on his throwing arm, I think Sean Payton, he was very conservative with them last year because Breeze wanted to come back 2 weeks earlier than he eventually did.
And what, he missed 5 last week?
Yeah, he ended up 5 games and 5.5 basically because the one he was injured in. So, yeah, plus he got the bye. He had the bye week. Well, he came back right before the bye week. And so he got a bye week right after his first start.
Okay.
So they got to evaluate him then. So I don't see the rush. I mean, I think you can see 3 games, maybe 4 out of Jameis.
I was thinking 4. And again, you're not going to do with Jameis this year what Tampa did with him last year of, trying to do that vertical game. However, there were shots that Drew has not been able to even take. And then you could tell there was something going on with the shoulder because even the quick slant to Thomas, sailed on him. And that's typically, for a quarterback like Drew, that's a shoulder problem and not just an errant throw. So if Jameis can just get that ball on Thomas, get that ball to Sanders, get that ball to the other receivers, and take a shot just to keep guys honest, down the field. Enough. That's enough. Hand the ball to Kamara, hand the ball to Murray, and let's roll.
What do we know about Sean Payton? The thing that we know is that he'll attack. He will identify and attack a team's weaknesses. And if it means that in that game he's not going to throw the ball as much, he's shown over the last 2 years and over the last 3 years, actually, because the Saints' rushing attempts have been creeping closer and closer to that 50-50 balance. Sean Payton knows what he has. And if the defense is going to play like this, the way they played the last 2 weeks, if they're going to play like this for a stretch, then again, all you have to do is you give that defense 20, 23 points. You don't have to score 40. You get that defense 23 points a week. And I think you can do that with the Saints. Based on the talent that they have, they should fall backwards into 23 points a game. Then I think that they'll be fine. I have no worries for them in the long run unless Breeze is done. If it comes back and he just can't recover from this, if it's more than a contusion and he can't throw or he's severely hampered, then that's a different story. But if he's able to play the last 3 games, he's all right.
Yeah, Keith Hennig said the Saints have flaws too. Number 2.
Oh, they all do. Yeah. They all have flaws. That's the thing. All of them, that group is such a muddle. Why would you be scared of anybody? Because everybody knows you can do something to each of those teams. I can run it against the Packers. I can throw it deep against the Saints. I can do that. I mean, there's certain things you can get away with. The Seahawks lose discipline in their defense. The Cardinals will turn it over, and their defense isn't spectacular. There's just every team that's in that top 5 in the NFC. There's a flaw, and so you're just trying to look for the matchups.
If we were talking about the AFC, be a different story because there are teams in the AFC that separated themselves from everybody else.
It's Pittsburgh and Kansas City at this point.
That's what I'm saying. Those know it too. And I hate to say it, Baltimore is not in that conversation. Pittsburgh have separated themselves from everyone else. Over in the NFC, that's not the case.
You can't definitively say any of those teams is the best team in the NFC.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. That being said, what was the surprise game for you yesterday?
Baltimore losing.
Yeah.
The way that they did, how they performed. Because I didn't think Arizona was going to win. You picked Arizona. I didn't think they were going to win. So for 59 minutes and 59 seconds, I was fine.
You were right.
And it took a man out jumping 3 people and coming out with an amazing catch to beat. So I'm not. To me, that wasn't something we knew it would be close. Baltimore got beat up, and they looked stupid. They did not look focused. They didn't look like they had a real game plan. And when you have your quarterback saying that the other team knows our plays, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that Baltimore has a lot of gut checks to do before they get to the playoffs, because now they've been dominated by teams outside of that top group. It's one thing to get beat by Kansas City and say, okay, that's our peer. But now you can't be beat by people you shouldn't be getting beat by.
Yeah, I got to say what surprised me yesterday was the way that they were able to run the ball on Baltimore. I was a little surprised by that. And, they kept Cam clean enough for him to make a few plays. But the way that New England was able to run the ball on Baltimore was a surprise. Let me ask you this. How much do you think weather played into that game last night for them?
Why should it affect Baltimore? Why should that affect Baltimore?
Yeah.
That's what you're built for.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
Yep.
That's been your identity for years, is that you know how to play in the elements.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. And if you're primarily a running team, which they are,
right,
then what's the problem?
Yeah.
That they should be better than what they were. And I don't know if there's, again, this is what happens when you start losing games the way that they're losing them, is people start having questions. And when people got questions, when Lamar Jackson is talking, I don't know. I don't know what that means for Harbaugh. The heat is coming for him too now.
It's funny that our little sister, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, said there was a tough week for the Harbaugh brothers. And I said, yeah, one of them needs to have free time on his hands to be looking for a job. The other one needs to get back in the lab. I'm not ready to crucify Harbaugh as much as I'm saying, Greg Roman, you got to take your offense to the next iteration. You can't keep doing what you did last year. Folks have caught up with last year. What's next? And I don't see that. And, even with the running game, I didn't see a stellar running game yesterday. And that's not Lamar Jackson's fault. I mean, Lamar Jackson is not the head of the running game. And if your running game is not there, well, guess what? Even the best of quarterbacks, get covered up when you have no running game. You can't throw the ball 60 times a game and expect to win, whether you're Lamar or whether you're Tom Brady or
not against Bill Belichick. You are not going to. Once I've eliminated something, if I'm Bill Belichick, he eliminated the running game was eliminated. So now you let me just with a substandard set of defenders. Remember, the Patriots are missing a number of their defenders over the last few years. The people that made that defense carry them to a Super Bowl are gone, and they still did that.
Breaking news. Drew Brees has rib fractures and a collapsed lung.
That ain't gonna do it. Yeah, that's 6-8. That might be the rest of the regular season for that.
Yeah. Yep. They're not saying how long, but they just say several weeks.
Yeah, they won't say, because they don't want anybody to think that he's not coming back, and Drew won't let them say that. Drew won't let anybody on that roster believe that he won't be back.
Yeah.
Now, a collapsed lung and fractured ribs at 40
don't
heal like they do at 20.
Right.
Don't heal like they do at 30.
Yeah, Deshaun had a punctured lung a couple years ago, and I want to say he missed 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then he started catching the bus to and from locations where they were playing. But like you said, that's a 21, 22-year-old body. That ain't a 40-plus-year-old body.
Look at Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Look at Tyrod Taylor. How long it took him just from, and that wasn't even from a jar. He didn't break his ribs. That was from a puncture from his own staff.
Right.
And it took him, even when he came in, when Justin Herbert got benched a little while ago, he didn't look like himself because he hasn't recovered physically. And so for Drew Brees to have those rib fractures and a collapsed lung and the throwing shoulder problem, all those things, Saints really better get behind Jameis. You better get him coached up, get him ready.
David, we got to go. We're up near the top there. I'll tell everybody where they can find you and follow you, what you got next on the next podcast.
At DM Grub on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, hitpwithdg.com, the website where you can get everything I do. I got coming up today, I got 2. One with Andrew Snorton, who wrote a book about minor league baseball throughout the Gulf South, and another with Twilly Cottingham on college football. And then I was supposed to have Antonio Daniels today, but his family, he had to go get a COVID test, so I'm wishing him the best on that. But we're going to be doing some stuff before the draft, and, of course, Wednesday's Dome Patrol will ride again, so check those out. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about on this Drew Brees stuff on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Be safe out there, bro. We'll talk to you real soon.
All right.
David Grubb, y'all, you know it's always a pleasure when my brother is with us. All right, let me get out of the way. Sybil Wilkes with a quick COVID-19 update. I'll be back tomorrow for Team Texas Tuesday. Garrett Jones will be with me, general manager candidate for the Houston Texans. Y'all be safe. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today. Over the weekend in Washington, D.C., thousands of Trump supporters descended on the nation's capital for the Million MAGA March to denounce the election results and repeating unfounded allegations of widespread voter fraud. Tensions intensified Saturday night as fights erupted between Donald Trump supporters and counter-protesters. At least 20 people were arrested, 2 police officers were injured, and 1 person was stabbed and remains in critical condition. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.
All right, y'all. Hey, I stand by everything I said today. I do. I stand by everything I said today. And if you are offended, then I apologize for your offense. I'm not apologizing for what I said. It's time out, man. At some point, you got to realize that there is nothing that's written or in print or anything that says we always get our way. I don't care how passionate we are about it. I don't care how spiritual we are about it. I don't care how anointed we are about it. There are people out there that are literally ready to tear up the very foundation of this nation. And these are the very people that call themselves patriots. These are the very people that will say that somebody should leave the country if they don't like what's going on. Well, guess what? That door swings both ways. Before we let you tear this up because your person didn't win, we'll get you out of here. And I mean that. So I'm just telling you right now, be careful who you're listening to. Be careful what you're becoming a part of, because you don't want to become a partaker in another person's sin. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Wear your mask. Wash your hands still. Keep everything sanitized around you. And make sure you give people their 6 feet. I'm telling you, now is the time to practice all the things in place that are there to keep us safe. And when you see the racism, kill it. I'm going to add racism and foolishness. When you see it, kill it, not the person, but the racism and the foolishness. Y'all be safe. Y'all be blessed.